Hello and welcome to Learning with Lulu. In today's video we are going to do a brief summary and also brief analysis of Chapter 7, which is the Governor's Hall in Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter. So Chapter 7 is fairly short. It, in most simplest terms, is Hester and Pearl going to the governor's house in order for Hester to essentially fight back against the rumor going around that Pearl may be taken away from her. The governor's name is Bellingham, so Hester and Pearl are on their way to Governor Bellingham's house. One purpose of this visit is to deliver some beautifully, intricately embroidered ornate gloves that she has made for the governor, and then also to contest the potential reality of rumors going around by everyone taking it upon themselves to determine whether Pearl should be allowed to stay with her mother. There are a couple of reasons that people are talking about taking Pearl away from Hester. One is because they suspect she may in fact be some sort of demon child. And, you know, if Hester is to have redemption, she needs to have this little demon taken away from her so that, you know, she can stay on the path to heaven or work her way back to it. And then the other train of thought that people are throwing around is that if indeed Pearl is a human child, that she should be taken and given to some, you know, more Christian parents for her own welfare. This upsets me. I think it's ridiculous that they are now talking about doing this with a 3-year-old who's attached to her mother, and the amount of trauma that would induce, it's ridiculous. So Hester's going to contest this. On Hester and Pearl's way to Governor Bellingham's house, they pass a group of, again, Puritan children who are little jerks, and they start throwing mud at Hester and Pearl, and they point out that Pearl is the living, breathing, walking embodiment of the Scarlet Letter. Now, Pearl has been once again dressed beautifully by her mother, and on this day, she's wearing, it says, a uniquely shaped frock that is embroidered with a lot of gold. And I believe it says that, you know, she's wearing red, and this shade of red on any other child would maybe make them look sickly, but because of Pearl's rich, dark, beautiful features, I think it says her hair is brown, but as she becomes older, it takes on almost a black hue. It says it really just looks beautiful on her, and it does kind of describe her as, you know, a little spark that flew from a fire, which, you know, fire, burning, you could either associate that with the, you know, sin component or with, you know, the spark of light. Take it as you will. Which, on that note, the fact that Hester has put so much beauty and time into both the Scarlet Letter and Pearl. One, I think Pearl, she's also just like a loving mother. But with both of them, they're both reminders of evil, an evil act, adultery. However, her treatment of them, it almost takes on like some sort of pleasant association for her. And if you think about it, the Scarlet Letter for Hester is symbolizing a moment of expressing love with someone that she seems to probably still love. There's this fondness for it as well. So anyway, these rude Puritan children are throwing mud at Hester and Pearl, and Pearl will not stand for this, and she just kind of goes and yells and flings her arms and scares the kids off, and then she walks back to her mother all demurely and smiles at her like, I took care of it, Mom. She doesn't say that, but that's how I read it. So they continue on to Governor Bellingham's house. The house is a diminutive version. It's a mansion. It's described as a very ostentatious place. And even though the Puritans and Governor Bellingham specifically left England, even the exterior of the house, and as we'll see in the interior, they left the old world, but it's like they're trying to recreate it here and trying to keep certain things. You know, it's fashioned after English aristocracy. Inside, he even has a coat of armor on the wall, and he's got family portraits hanging on the walls. The coat of armor, it's not some antique. It says that it was made in the same year that Governor Bellingham left England. And it's not ornamental. He's worn it. And so, you know, the Puritans came to the New World, which it's not a new world. Entire nations of people lived here before Europeans started colonizing. I don't know why I did that. They just started colonizing, but it's not a new world. Nations were here. Governor Bellingham has worn the suit of armor to fight Native Americans and to, you know, live a more Christian, humble life. And yet, the suit of armor is like the antithesis of that. So, you know, there's not tolerance and freedom here because there's a suit of armor that has been worn and is on display proudly. On the outside of the house, they say that, you know, it's clear that they've tried to do an ornamental garden and fashion it after, again, the English style, but English way of life cannot be perfectly transplanted into the American soil. The ornamental plants don't do well, and so, you know, it's designed to be this aesthetically pleasing thing, but the only things that really take root are practical things needed for food. The things that take root are things like pumpkins, and it says that a pumpkin is growing under a large pumpkin is growing under one of the main windows. Cabbages are growing. The one beautiful flower that is growing well is a rose bush, which has been symbolic throughout already. This beauty itself, though, still doesn't come without its defiance, you know, without its thorns. Hester and Pearl get to the mansion. They talk to a indentured servant. In the text, it describes him, I believe, basically as a slave. And again, the hypocrisy, being so Christian and yet they treat people the same way they do farm animals. It says that this indentured servant is fairly new here, and so he says, you know, Governor Bellingham isn't available right now, and Hester carries herself very regally and confidently, and she says, oh, that's fine, I'll just wait inside. And this man doesn't really know anything about her, but just by the way she carries herself, he's like, oh, okay, like she must know what she's doing, kind of thing. So she waits inside with Pearl. The chapter concludes with Pearl and Hester inside. They are observing this suit of armor. Pearl is fascinated with it, and she points out her mother's reflection in it. Because of the shape of the armor, Pearl notices, and Hester notices, that when Hester looks in it, the scarlet letter A is magnified. It's made most prominent in the image, and that makes her a little uncomfortable. And the very last thing in the chapter, Pearl is wanting, I believe, a flower, a rose from a rose bush outside, and she starts to scream that she can't have it because Hester is essentially, you know, right now is not a good time, as any parent would be, or any person in charge of a child in a moment such as this would be. Hester's trying to calm her down. You know, Hester is here to fight for her right to keep her own daughter that she's taken very well care of so far. Here, Pearl is throwing a tantrum. What does stop Pearl's tantrum is the group of men entering the room. Governor Bellingham was in talking with some other men, and they have now entered, and the next chapter is, going to pick up from there. So that's chapter 7 in the Scarlet Letter. I hope you find this video useful. Please comment any thoughts you have down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and definitely share with friends, family, classmates, anyone you know that may benefit from having summaries and light analysis of chapters in the Scarlet Letter. Thanks for watching, and bye.